Hey guys, thank you for attending the Indie Theatre this morning. Our next talk is from Mike Bithell, who's going to be talking about his indie game, Thomas Was Alone. So, over to you, Mike.
Hello. Oh, nice. You're a nice audience. I was worried, to be honest. I have absolutely zero Redstone-themed content in this presentation. That seems to be really popular. I once plugged a door switch into a door, and when you stood on the switch, the door opened. That's the content. That's basically, I'm not sure how I can stretch that out for an hour, so I think I'm going to sort of talk about Thomas instead. I always do this, and it's always massively humbling. Had anyone heard of Thomas Was Alone before this? Wow, okay. That's many more than I was expecting. That's sweet, awesome. Cool, awesome. Well, what I'm going to do then is I'm going to start off, it needs a bit of a, oh dear. So I'm going to start off, because honestly I assumed like two people would put their hands up and I'd know both of them. So what I'll start by doing is quickly show you a trailer for it, for those people who don't know what the hell I'm talking about. Here we go. And where's the full screen? It's there. Okay.
Thomas was alone. Wow, a weird first thought to have. Spikes? That was new. Claire avoided them. She decided they were most likely her kryptonite. Not the rubbish red kryptonite either, the proper radioactive green stuff.
Cool. So that's that. So that's what I'm going to be talking about. I've talked about Thomas quite a bit, I'll be honest with you, at quite a few different things. And I wanted to work out what specifically to talk about here. And I was thinking about the processes, and there's lots of stuff about game design and programming which maybe isn't very interesting, but what I thought I'd do is basically give you a rundown of how an indie game got made. I thought that was an interesting kind of conversation to have. And specifically for me, a really big focus of this is everyone except me. With indie games, we tend to look at the kind of the person whose name is all over the trailer and assume that that's the person who made the game. And that's usually the person who made the bulk of the game, but there's a lot of other people involved in creating any kind of indie game. I don't care how small it is. So I'm going to talk a bit, and just to kind of give you the spirit of this talk, I'm going to start by immediately publicizing myself. That's me on Twitter, and that's where you can go to buy my game. And if you buy direct, you get 20% off if you enter Minecon 2012 during Minecon. Okay, so that's me. Just to give you a bit of background, I've been working in the games industry now for nearly 6 years. I started off, my first game was a PS2 platformer. PS2 was something we used to play on before PlayStation 3s. It was good. It was good stuff on it. It didn't play Blu-rays, but you know. And I then moved on to kind of Wii and Xbox and all manner of things. And then about a year ago, started making social games, Facebook stuff. I did a game called Monster Mind last year, now doing Merlin, which is a tie-in to a TV series, which is really cool. However, I'm not here to talk about those. What I'm here to talk about is Thomas Was Alone, which I started about 1.5 years ago and have made in my evenings and weekends since then. So very similar to Tom for the two people who I think I didn't lose straight after Tom's talk because of Redstone. I've just lost my notes. Yeah, so I wanted to talk about the process of making the game. Thomas started a year and a half ago as a game jam. Basically, I had a weekend where my girlfriend was out of town, my mates were all busy, and I had nothing better to do. So I sat down and I made something over a weekend, just a little Flash prototype, and it was rubbish. But it was about rectangles, and the rectangles could jump different heights, and they were different sizes. I thought that was interesting, and it turns out quite a few people agreed with me. It went up on Congregate and went to their front page, and I got personal congratulations from the founder of Congregate on my game, all the while being fully aware that it was rubbish, which was a very odd experience for me. But I wanted to do something with it. It seemed like I'd hit a nerve that this, and I'll say it again, rubbish game had somehow kind of caught people. It was an interesting hook that people were into. Now I'm a nerd, so I immediately decided I was going to continue with this, and I went very nerdy with it. So I looked at the comments, and the internet does like to comment. So what I did was I got every comment, and there were thousands on the Congregate page, and I mathematically analyzed them, because I'm a geek. Unfortunately, I haven't got, I did infographics with them, but it was really interesting because basically it meant I could look at all the feedback I'd got, and I could see the things they liked, the things they didn't like on a global scale. And I could work out, okay, so they agree with me about the jumping, that was rubbish, but they like the story. And story was interesting, because I didn't write a story. The game was called Thomas Was Alone because my mate suggested it while I was chatting to him about what I was making. He later told me the reason he suggested it because he thought it would appeal to the emo crowd. He thought that there'd be a certain kind of person online who would think, oh, that's so meaningful. And he was right, but not in the kind of patronizing, sarcastic, horrible way he intended. He was right because it actually did make players see a meaning. And the comments filled up. The first rectangle you see in the game is red. And because the game's called Thomas Was Alone, everyone thought the red rectangle was Thomas. And immediately, that was a character. And I didn't say that it was Thomas, but people came to that conclusion on their own. And there was more. So there was a yellow character who couldn't jump as high. So everyone started talking about the grumpy character who couldn't jump very high and was jealous of Thomas. And that was weird, and it kind of expanded, and there was one guy who, because people always do this, called Thomas Was Alone a clone, but he called it a clone of Seinfeld. He claimed that I had ripped off the characters from Seinfeld for a platforming game, which is incredible, given that they're rectangles, and I've never seen Seinfeld. But I could see that something was working. Players were finding a story within this game, and they were liking the game in spite of, I've mentioned it's rubbish. And I thought that was very interesting, and I kind of felt like maybe there was somewhere to go with this game. So I had to put a team together. There's lots of people, and this is what I said at the start, there's lots of people involved in Thomas. So the first thing was, the game was silent. It needed music, so I did what I always do when confronted by any kind of complex problem. I moaned and bitched about it down the pub. And I just told everyone, if you followed me on Twitter, you would hear me say about twice a day, I've got no composer, I need a composer. In the office, I need a composer. Down the pub, I need a composer. The side effect of that was I saw a lot of really, really bad music showreels. However, one guy, a YouTuber, who did, he takes existing game trailers and does new music for them. He got in touch, and he was all right. His work was kind of a good standard. It wasn't like incredible. So what I did was I cheekily sent him a message going, yeah, I like your stuff. And by the way, this is like the most evil thing you can do to someone who's just getting started, because he was just a graduate. I said to him, I like your stuff. Could you do me a demo for my game? Could you do a demo of how you'd score the game? Thinking I would get back like a minute-long track of some chiptunes. He wrote me a 5-minute orchestral masterpiece. He got some footage of my game from, he captured off the Flash game, which I've now deleted because it was rubbish. And he wrote this amazing score, and I cried. And then when I stopped crying, I emailed him back, and I asked him if he would do the whole game. And he did, and he's done amazing work. David Housden, if you're ever looking for a composer, he's getting great work now. He's doing very, very well. God bless him, because he's awesome. But that was just a friend of a friend who had a YouTube channel with 100 views. Nothing. It was amazing. I then had to find an artist. I don't know how much attention you were paying during the trailer. It's not a massively complex aesthetic. The main thing was actually, because I got a graphic design background, so I kind of was happy with the rectangles, but I got a concept artist to do my color palettes. It took him about 30 minutes, so that was good. That was easy. That's probably the cheapest art budget in video game history. I think it was a pint. Engine was one as well. I had to find an engine. I'd used Flash, and I've used Flash before, but I hate Flash. I don't hate Flash. I don't like Flash. And it didn't work very well for me personally. And then I went to a Unity event in London, and the Unity guys kind of pushed me into a corner and told me about Unity for about an hour. And then I played with it over a weekend. Get Unity. By the way, this worked. They bullied me into using their engine, and it totally worked because I'm on stage telling you to use their engine. It's great. Thomas was made entirely in the free Unity package. The only reason I had to pay for it was to plug into achievements once I went onto Steam. So you can make a full game, which is awesome, and it's free. So yeah, I did all right with it. So I started playing with Unity. I had a character, a little square, that could jump in like a weekend. Kind of like Tom's game, but Tom went on to make a full game. I made a game about rectangles. And I had that kind of after the first weekend. Now, I don't know if it's coming across, but I kind of like the sound of my own voice. I like talking. So what I found was this is a great time to be someone who likes talking, because you can go and talk at everyone. Twitter. Anyone who follows me on Twitter, a lot of people probably watching this on the video are watching it because I tweeted about it 5 times. I'm really sorry, but I wanted to do it. I started talking about the game. I started sharing. I started oversharing. I was putting up YouTube videos of this new rain effect I'd made. It was boring, probably, but it was something that I wanted to do, and there's a few reasons for that. One is having a crowd of people who know about your work and are being complimentary or pointing out problems is amazing. It's a massive positive force because you get excited. You get excited because you feel like you're making something that someone wants to play, which is kind of what game designers always want. It's also awesome because you have to make it. This is something annoyingly Tom said, and it's a really good point, is I had to make this game, because if I didn't make this game, I would look stupid in front of the internet. And the internet is an angry and awesome group of people, and I didn't want to look stupid. I wanted to bring a game out, and that was a massive, massive help for me. It helped me to follow through, it helped me to push the game forward, and it let me think about things. If you have to explain on a blog why your game is good for 500 words, it's probably not good. So actually being forced to kind of constantly refer to the game, discuss things like coming up with the structure of the story, I did that publicly. I posted kind of the full narrative of the game was posted about a year before the game came out, because I was thinking it through and talking about it publicly with the community, and that forced me into thinking, and it was a great tool, especially for an indie where you're working on your own or in a small group. Community became something amazing very, very early. And I kept designing, I kept developing. I'm an absolute perfectionist. I have a very, very specific way I like to make games, and I like my games to feel perfect. They never do, obviously, but that's the point, is that I always strive for that. So I spent a year on and off making the jump feel good. Like I said, I got a jump within the first 2 days of development. I tweaked the jump the last time about a week before release. I'm obsessive about that stuff. And it's really nice when I see comments like the one that I start my trailer off with, which says that the jump's nice. And that's cool, because I'm a designer, so I geek out over that stuff. And it was really, really rubbish in the original, and I had to fix it. So another weird thing happened. So as I said, I knew that the story worked. I knew that there were people who, even though there wasn't a story, even though there was just 3 words on the game, there were people finding a story. So I know I needed to have an element of story in the game. I had to have a story. I originally played with it in the context of an event called Game City I took it to, and I had these kind of motion graphics going on in the game. So this is like where you have typography. I don't know if you've seen trailers do it a lot, where you have like the typography fly in and often with sound effects, better than that. And I had that, and I put that in, and I went to Game City, and it was working, but there were loads of problems with it. It was massively distracting while you were trying to play, to have enormous chunks of text fly in. It was massively constraining when writing it, because either I had the problem that I needed to shorten my text to fit the environment, or I had to make the environment fit around my text. Neither was good, and both were kind of damaging the other. So I thought about that, and I kind of wanted to change the way I was thinking. So I decided to go down the line of writing a voiceover or a narration, and that led to a whole bunch of new problems, because then I needed structure, I needed long form kind of writing in a way that I've never done before. I've never written fiction before. So I read a lot of awful hack books. You know those ones you see on the shelf, like 10 ways to be a filmmaker, or 20 ways to make the novel that makes you your first million, all those kind of crap books. What's good about those books though is there is content in there. There's actual kind of descriptions, and like with anything creative, listening to a load of rubbish, useless rules is good, because if you know the rule, you can break the rule. And I did, and got criticized wherever I did, which has made me want to always write in exactly the way those things say. So I did that. So I read up on how to write, and I got a structure. I kind of knew that you were going to start off on your own, you were going to build up some friends, then a bad thing was going to happen, it was going to look like all was lost, then you were going to write. I knew that kind of stuff, but I didn't know the voice of the game. I'm a massive fan of a writer and broadcaster, that's a rubbish phrase, called Danny Wallace, there's a little, well done, thank you. He'd be very happy if he's watching. I will send this to him purely so he can hear your woohoo. And he's cool. In the UK, he's written a lot of books that he's famous for, but he's probably best known now as a quite popular morning DJ. But he's a really good storyteller. He's also, he's in Assassin's Creed. He's Sean Hastings in Assassin's Creed, who's like the most dislikable character in video game history. But he's a really good storyteller, and he writes really kind of flowing, entertaining, popular prose. So I decided to rip him off. So I sat down one Christmas while avoiding my extended girlfriend's family. I hid in a room with a stereo I'd managed to nick with some of his audiobooks on, and listened to his style while I wrote. And I wrote out this script. And it was kind of very Danny Wallace-y. But that's my sense of humor as well, so it was good, and the tone of it was right. And I was happy with it. I spent like 3 months trying to find a voice actor who could deliver it. I didn't want to read my own script. I didn't want to spend months of development hearing my own voice. I wanted someone else to do it. And voice actors there's a lot of rubbish voice actors online, and they just weren't doing it the way I wanted. They weren't Danny Wallace, and I can't blame them for that. But it was frustrating. And I also knew that the quality needed to be of a certain level, because, the internet was starting to notice Thomas, and I wanted it to be good. So I got drunk. All the best stories. So I got drunk, and I Googled Danny Wallace's email address, and he's got some very interesting fans, who are great, by the way, and should totally buy Thomas Was Alone. And I found his email address on one of his fan sites, and I emailed him a build of the game and an essay about how funny I thought he was, and how I thought he would be perfect for the game. And it was all true. I think he is brilliant, and I didn't expect it to work. Half an hour passed, and I got an email back from him saying, "It's great, I want in." I had no idea he was a video games journalist. So he played the game, and he liked the game, and he wanted to be a part of it, and it was awesome. And just really, really awesome, and really cool to kind of work with him, and he's great. Unfortunately, recording professional voiceover actors in professional voiceover studios costs money, of which I had none. I have a day job, and it basically pays for a month's worth of stuff. I didn't have any money to make a game on top of that, and I definitely didn't have money to rent an audio studio in Soho for half a day. And that's when the community kicked in. That's when the stuff that I'd been kind of talking to the community, and people had been being awesome, that's when I got saved by them, because I had to get a loan. I was on my way to the bank. I'd literally already gone to the bank and got a quote on what I was going to have to pay in order to get a loan. And Double Fine did this Kickstarter thing. I don't know if you've heard about it, but it did all right. Like, and I kind of thought about it, and I thought, like, I'm not Tim Schafer. But I was like, I could be like 0.1% of Tim Schafer. And it just kind of dawned on me that it was a possibility. And I did a crowdfund, basically, and the community paid for the voiceover. And without the voiceover, reread the reviews and imagine a version of the game without the voiceover. And I think it was a big part of the success of the game. And I owe that entirely to the community, who were awesome and paid for me to basically do something I love, which is just the nicest thing you can do for anyone. So I kept going. Danny Wallace's dulcet tones were in the game. I was starting to giggle every time I played the game. My girlfriend was just starting to laugh whenever I was working on the game, and not because of the game anymore. So that was good. And the music came in. David had kind of been plugging away for a year, it's like a full procedural score, so it took him forever. He thought he was going to just do me some minute-long loops, but he ended up producing like an hour or two's worth of music if you take all the... Oh, poor boy. I took advantage. And then we just kept working, and it was a certain point where it was nearly ready. I was playtesting the hell out of it, again, community. This time a smaller community. I don't have many testers. I have kind of a group of indies and friends and people who I've met in real life or who have approached me at events, who just play my games and give me feedback. And we were getting to a point where I was kind of ready. And then I released it. Unfortunately, Steam weren't that interested. They didn't know who I was. I've completely fallen off this PowerPoint. I just kind of went off on one. Okay, so I'm getting it out now, so there we go, we caught up. They didn't care, it was rectangles, right? It was not a high-profile game. It didn't have, like, the trailers had like a few thousand video views. It wasn't big. And I couldn't wait for them. There wasn't much more I could do without putting the game out. I'd done a really bad job of explaining to a large community what the game was. So I had to release it separately. So I released it. I did it on Indie City and Azura initially, and that did all right. Then I got an angry email from Terry Kavanagh, who made V, telling me I had to sell it direct. So I sold it direct and made like way, way more. Bought this iPad, which is now out of date, and bloody Apple. But yeah, it came out. It did all right. It did all right. It was a humble success, and I was happy. I was happy with it. It was enough money that I actually thought, well, I've made something good. The reviews started hitting. They were all really good, and my Metacritic was almost good enough to get me a job on BioWare Infinite, and it was just, that's a very obscure news story that I don't know if that reference will have gone over. Anyway, and then something else happened, YouTube. And this is where I started to get it. The problem is, my background was always on kind of console games, and the rule was you made a good game, then you marketed the hell out of it, then you got good reviews on the big gaming blogs and gaming websites, and then your game did well-ish, if you were lucky and if people didn't pirate it too quickly. But that's just shifted, and I mean, Tom talked about a lot of this, so I won't go over the same ground, but first of all, your game's going to be immediately pirated if it's good, so that doesn't really factor in anymore, in my opinion, on PC games. But more interestingly, there's this whole new medium of people talking about games that have these enormous audiences. Total Biscuit was mentioned earlier. Total Biscuit hates puzzle games and therefore will not play Thomas Was Alone. If you know Total Biscuit, if you could just mention it to him that there's like a really good voiceover and stuff, that would be lovely. I think he's sick of receiving emails from me. But other people have, and the YouTube community, like from the littlest Let's Plays to massive viewed videos, it's been awesome. And as a game designer, it's so cool. Like, I'm obsessed with it. I watch every single one. There's great ones. There's one where a teenage boy is playing through the game, but he's not playing, he's getting his mum to play. So they're about 20 minutes long, each of these videos, and she loves the story, and she's getting through it at her own pace, she's having fun, it's not a ridiculously difficult game, and her son is getting more and more frustrated with her for not immediately getting every jump. And it's great because the relationship breaks down. Every episode ends with him slamming the computer off in disgust. But they keep going back and trying again with more levels, and it's the most awesome experience watching these guys, and kind of that mixed thing of like feeling really sorry for the mother, but loving the kind of the interplay and reaction. And I do watch all of them. I watch absolutely from every YouTuber because it's really cool. It's nice to see people talk about your stuff, but it's also nice to see how they play your stuff. It's amazing, like post-release playtesting. Unfortunately, Valve watch YouTube as well. So the game was building up enough steam. There was enough coverage of it on the kind of conventional blogs and websites. The YouTube guys were into it, and Valve got into it. And again, the community saved my ass. And it's very much appreciated. And I'm now on Steam. It took me forever. I'm a rubbish programmer. I spent like a month making achievements work. So if you do buy the game, and you should, it's really good. When you play it, every time an achievement pops up, I want you to remember that is about a week of my life. That's one achievement. And I really hope you enjoy the noise they make. But yeah, so I'm on Steam. I got on I got accepted just before Greenlight, so the Greenlight thing kind of didn't affect me personally, but I think it's cool. And what's great is because I was out for a few months before Steam, the game came to Steam kind of reasonably bug-free, which means that it's been kind of accepted, and a new community is taking place. You know, more people bought Thomas in the first 4 days on Steam than had bought it anywhere else ever. It's an enormous number of players on Steam. I didn't believe all the people who told me that was the case. And the community's incredible. They're talking about the game. They're starting to have debates about what the story means. It's great because half of it I had no idea. And there's just a really good community forming around it, a really great conversation. And I have to stop myself from joining in at every given opportunity because I geek out over it. So that's sort of where the game is now. It's out, it's doing well, it's doing a lot better than I think it really deserves. It's cool, it's very nice, I'm massively flattered. But I'm constantly aware of how important everyone else was in the process, and how specifically the community that got into it. And it's a small community. But these communities don't need to be massive anymore. They can be a niche. I can be a game that only appeals to 20,000 people and still live very well. I'm not there yet. Please buy the game. I want to keep doing that. I like that. I like making games that a small number of people love. I've made games that a large number of people think, yeah, I like the other version. I like this new version. I like the fact that the internet allows this to exist. This wouldn't happen on a shelf in a shop. This happens because there's a community looking for content that they like. I want to make games that encourage that are part of the community, that push that and are the communities. I want to keep telling stories because I love telling stories, but I want to do that in a way that's inclusive, and I want to, with my next projects, begin to play with the idea of community-generated stories. The community did generate the story for Thomas. They decided that the little fat guy was angry. They decided that the tall guy was arrogant, and I just got, a professional voiceover actor to reiterate what they'd said. It's kind of silly, really. I want to make games that never end. I want to make games that push that. I'm totally going off on a tangent here because I've got literally nothing to show you. I'm going to finish with a funny video though, so it's all good. I want to stop making linear experiences. I want to make stuff that players can take and make their own, and other buzzwords that mean nothing until I deliver. Hopefully in a year's time I'll be back here showing you something. That's my name again. You can tell humbleness is a big part of the Mike Bithell experience. The fact that it's called the Mike Bithell experience kind of diffuses any pretension of that. So there's my Twitter, please follow me. There's thomaswasalone.com. If you buy direct and you enter a coupon Minecon 2012, you get 20% off until Minecon's over, because well, because I was going to get proper printed coupons, but they didn't work. So that's cool. I'm just going to quickly end, and then I'll go to questions after. There were lots of people who helped me in really weird ways. And there was one company, there's a company called Audio Motion, who are based in Britain. They're Britain's biggest motion capture studio. And I went to them with an idea for a trailer, and they thought it was funny, and they made this for me.
Mike called again, and then he called again, and then the emails started, and well, you know, we had a meeting. We had a meeting, and it was supposed to be a 2-day shoot, and we're now week 4 in the studio. It's a 4-week shoot.
First I had to overcome my ego and realise that this was about more than me, more than myself and my performance. And then I get in a box, and I stay there for about an hour or so, and I just hum to myself in a low sort of tone, and get the resonance, the same sort of resonance of the box. Whoa, 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 whoa! Okay, yes, People just kept saying to me, like, why are you going to do a game about rectangles? They're not rectangles. It's not a game about squares. They're quadrilaterals. Don't label things, you know? I think working with a box, the most important thing you have to do is you have to just drop the ego. You know, it's all about me. That's how actors are, and that's how I was. It's all about me and my big show. Well, no, not anymore. It's about them.
Well, it's not just the fact that, you know, the guys in the studio have been busy for 4 weeks. The entire R&D department has also been tied up. They've been writing new code almost on a daily basis to enable us to capture this stuff.
We have disputes now and again. I mean, we love each other. You know, it's a very good relationship, but we argue a lot. I feel like the boxes can be more expressive. I feel like they have a bigger voice to speak, and Mike wants everything to be simple and subtle and underplayed, and you know, it's difficult. You know, we come to heads now and again over that.
Cool. That was a pretty fun morning. Cheers, thank you. So does anyone have any questions? Because I've run out of stuff to say. Does anyone have any questions? Brimming? Yes, sir. I think, have we got another mic? I'm going to run over to you because I'm mobile. I don't know the range on this, so if I cut out, I apologize. Ask me a question, sir. Ooh, that shifted. Anyway.
Are you always going to let the community decide the story, or are you going to sort of complete stuff yourself?
It's not so much about letting them decide the story, it's about involving them. So, to be honest, as I said, like everything from the last 5 minutes was hyperbolic rubbish, which I want to do. That's the goal, and that's what I want. This is a really strange pose to strike. I'm going to go back up here. I feel safe up here. That's what I want to do. I want to make sure that the community is involved in every aspect of designing it. I didn't realize, I think there's a pretension amongst designers that we're the only people clever enough to do the thing. And I think there's also an assumption that most people aren't actually interested. I think both might have some truth to them, but I think the experience of Thomas showed me that if you actually listen and pay attention, then something better can happen. I'm not going to get the community to write the story, but I am going to run it by people. I'm going to see what people think and adjust based on that. It's going to be an evolving process, is basically what I'm saying. Anything else? Oh, you're right next to him. I should never have gone back up. Let me come round. It's going to be fun for the cameraman. I'm probably off camera now.
You had a lot of art in the background of it, like although everything in the front was a rectangle. Did you do that background animations and art yourself, or did you have someone else do it?
Yeah, no, I did everything. I did everything. I did everything that was on screen except the color palettes. I come from a graphic design background, so I like composition, I like the shape of things. The things in the background are great. They're procedural, well, they're not procedural, they're randomized. Procedural is a very clever way of sounding clever about randomization. They're randomized, they're basically particle effects, just kind of shimmering off. But yeah, I did those in a 2D vector program and just chucked them in. So yeah, I did all that, which is quite fun. It was good to do. And I like it because it's a nice break from making 100 levels, which is, like Tom said this earlier, content is what destroys indies. And why did I say 100 levels in my first interview? But it was good. Anyway, you've got one there. I'm going to come over to you. I don't know what the range is. I'm terrified I'm going to cut out. But I am quite enjoying these little conversations as I walk over to people. It's a nice break from talking about myself. Oh, hello. Sorry, sir. Yes, you had a question, sir?
What language are you using for this game?
It's made in Unity, which is a really, I think I hyped them a little bit. I don't know why I keep going back, because I'm just going to have to go back down again. It's made, I'm going to do it. It's made in Unity, it was made in Unity Basic, which is free and you can get, in terms of the programming language, it's JavaScript, which any coder in the room just lost all respect for me. That's because I'm not a coder. This was my first game I ever made on my own. Because I was doing like level designs and stuff, I'm used to kind of scripting environments. So using something like JavaScript was easy for me. Fortunately, because of the intentionally minimalist art style, I can get away with, and I'm making the most rubbish code ever because I'm not wasting anything on graphics, you see. So that's quite cool. So it's the worst coded game ever. Please don't take anything away from the coding on this game. It's appalling. Have I got time for more questions? Oh, you have another mic. Okay, do you want to run over? I'm missing it now. I feel I'm going to sit down.
Do you think you're ever going to stray away from platformers in future games?
I'm going to make a big statement now. I'm never going to make another platformer. Okay, no, this is serious. I've been told by my friends that this is an arrogant statement. I'm going to say it anyway. I really like what Stanley Kubrick did. I love the fact that he basically just kept switching things up. Like he tried to make the best Western he could make, the best historical epic, the best romantic, whatever. He was always shifting and always doing something different. I want to try and make different kinds of games. Now there's a risk to that I'm very possibly going to make pretty good games in every platform, in every genre, and never learn the lessons and take it forward. So I might change my mind, but no, my next game won't be a platformer, and I don't want to make another one for a while. It's something I had to get out of my system because I'm a big indie games fan, and I was playing all the indie platformers and had some ideas, but it's not going to define my work. My next game won't be a platformer. I'm going to regret that. I'm going to regret that in like 3 months when I realise my clever new idea doesn't work. I love your hat, by the way.
Thank you.
You're welcome. It's cool. Did you bring it with you, or did you buy it here?
I brought it with me.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Sorry.
With how big the community is, do you think that a level editor system would be a good idea? Never mind.
You know that thing I said about me being a rubbish programmer? It's really hard. I get asked, like, it used to be that I got like 3 emails a day saying, have you considered Steam? I hadn't. Thank you for the advice. Now it is, are you going to do a level editor? It's my new email I get every day. I'm not. And there's a few good reasons for it. One is I'm not good enough. 2 is the game's not tile-based. It's like scaled squares, basically. Well, cubes, because I'm wasteful. Scaled shapes. So it would be quite difficult to do a conventional kind of editor where you kind of pull stuff in. It would need to have like scaling and rotations and stuff. It would need to be a bit more advanced, and I'm rubbish. The other thing, honestly, is, and this might be my ego talking, but I'm not sure I'm not sure, well, there's two sides to it. One, I'm not sure whether there's many more permutations of those characters you can do that are fun. I think I pushed it. I think and you can tell I think that because about 70% of the game, the way through the game, 80%, the core mechanic of the game changes. Because I ran out of ideas, to be honest. I kind of felt like I wanted to do something a bit different for the end. So I'm kind of like, that's partially, but honestly the big thing is I'm not sure I can add much to it. Like, you've got so many great games, so many great platforming games with really cool level editors. I'm not sure Thomas brings enough new stuff to the table to justify a level editor of its own. I think it's, don't get me wrong, I'm proud of it and I like the multiplayer stuff, but I'm not sure it fully justifies that. I think you'd be better off, I'd rather, honestly, you got Unity and made your own game, because it would be pretty much as easy to make your own little 2D platformer in Unity as it would be for you to use whatever editor I could possibly make for this broken game. It works, but my point is it's the underlying stuff is not good for it. Another dangerous statement, I always want to include level editing in my future games. I don't want to ever make a game without level editing again. Partially because it was so hard making all the game levels bespoke, and I never want to do that again, so I might as well give you the tool too. But yeah, no, I'll come back to that though. Definitely, I want to do it in future games, but on this one, I don't think it's going to happen. Unless, like, I really think people feel that way. If it becomes really noisy, I might change my mind. Another question? Oh, hello.
So when you're going for different genres, do you think this type of narration could be applied to another kind of genre?
I think the narration thing's an interesting one. I like it because it's kind of storybook and it kind of fits the way these characters work. I don't know, I think I kind of want to play with some other things as well though. I'm not sure, to be honest. I've honestly not got there yet. I think there will always be voiceover in my games because to be honest, I just really like being in the studio. It was really cool, I felt famous, it was awesome. But no, to be a more honest answer is I can see how much it brought to this game, so I will always have characters with voices in my games. Specifically narration, I'm not sure. I don't see why narration wouldn't work in any kind of game, but I think basically I haven't decided yet, so it's really hard to answer. I will probably do another game at some point with narration, but I'm not sure how core that is to what I want to do. Sorry, rubbish answer. Oh. He can ask me later, get this guy. Oh, Tom, we were down the pub last night, Tom, you could ask me then.
Yeah, but this is,
This is in front of an audience.
It's relevant. You mentioned, it's actually about something you said in this talk I didn't know before this talk, so I couldn't have asked you last night.
Nicely done.
So you had a game that didn't have a story, and you found that people were making up their own ideas of what they were kind of projecting personalities onto these little rectangles, and they thought the tall one was arrogant, and the one that couldn't jump high was angry. And then you wrote a story where that was the case, so you explicitly say that this guy's arrogant, this guy's angry. Do you think there's there are any people for whom
3 months of my life I worried about this problem. Carry on.
I'm wondering if there are people who find that you lose something in being told that rather than having it in your own head.
I really struggled with that one because I had exactly that fear. I was like, am I taking the coolest thing about what's happened around the original Thomas and ruining it by prescribing something? The way I justified this to myself was you can turn it off. But you can't actually turn off the subtitles. I never got around to putting that in. So you are forced to read it at least. It's a really good question. I would like to do a version. I'm tempted at some point later to do an update which basically lets people record. This is very silly to say this in front of an audience. Either record or at least write their own stuff. So you could use Thomas as a frame. Because the structure of it is there's, increasing number of characters, then those characters go, then other characters come up, then those characters. So it's a kind of a narrative playground. I'd love people to be able to, maybe a story editor rather than a level editor would be really interesting, of getting people to do their own versions. The reason I didn't do that at launch, honestly, was I'm really proud of Danny's work, and I didn't want to do anything to kind of diminish what he brought to it. I really struggled because I think it's an amazing performance from him, and I didn't want to I didn't want to in any way kind of push the idea that that wasn't the best way to play the game. But now that it's out and people have seen that story, I would love, because it's already happening, some of the YouTubers fill in the gaps between narrations, so they'll talk about Chris. There's one guy who plays the entire game, because Chris is kind of an annoying character, intentionally so. He plays the entire game shouting abuse and swearing at Chris, like just a constant stream of like the most violent language. And it's brilliant and really funny, and I love that guy. So there's room for it, I think, and it would be really interesting to make a tool that let people, I don't know if that would, it might be one of those ones that I kind of go online and was like mention during some kind of event and then see if anyone tweets me about it. And then if people want it, then I'll do it probably. It would be quite easy to do actually. I think people might enjoy that, so it's something to play with maybe. Sorry, it's a massive answer. Have we got one time for another question? We've got a few more appearing at the front. Have you got time? Do you need to clear me out for Paul?
We can do another couple.
Okay. I'm just worried that Peter Molyneux is going to have to go on late, which would be terrible.
Hello.
Hello.
My question is actually relatively similar to the past one, but I was thinking about, you mentioned that you were an indie game fan yourself, and a lot of similar indie game platformers have had very different styles of story in them. And obviously you mentioned that in this game you chose this idea kind of by accident almost, because the story sort of evolved organically, and then this was by necessity. But what kind of other games do you think have done storytelling in the most compelling sort of original ways, if you look at it in the same sort of indie platformer community?
Okay. Oh, you added a nice stipulation at the end. I had like a fully formed answer.
You can do a double answer on that one.
Oh, thank you. In terms of like indie stuff, like I like Limbo. I like what Limbo does without saying anything. And the last moment of Limbo, which is has anyone else? I assume people have noticed that the last scene of Limbo, where you see him meet the kids, yeah, and then excellent performance in the front there. That's awesome. And then but then the start screen of the game is like flies or something flying around the same spot the kids were at. So that's quite dark, and that's right on the loading screen. So I like Limbo. I think Limbo does, and I love the courage to not have a character go, I almost said the kid, and then that would mean I was insulting Bastion, which is great, so I won't do that. But they didn't feel the need to do what I did, which was throw voice at it. In terms of generally, the cliched but absolutely true answer is Walking Dead. I think that game is incredible, and it's even more incredible because I've been playing Telltale games since they started talking about wanting to achieve this, and with the greatest respect, they've not achieved it up until this point. So you can kind of see a journey. It feels like it's nice. It's like it's like the bit where Rocky finally gets it. It's like they've been working so hard to achieve this, and they've come on and they've just done. And every game designer who's interested in story played Walking Dead and just was like, that's the new bar. That's the new line I've got to in any way approach. And please I've not finished it yet, so keep away from me if you've played the whole game. If anything happens to Clementine, I'm going to America with weapons. But it's amazing, and that's the kind of thing. I think that's what I point to as something I'm a fan of. But yeah, there was another one, wasn't there, hovering about? Oh, sorry. Hello again.
Hi.
Hi. I feel we're really growing to know each other now. It's good.
Awesome. Personally, I love linear gameplay. With the new genres, what kind of genres are you aiming for?
I really didn't intend to talk about any of this today, and I know everyone always says I really wasn't, and then they've got the notes about what they're exactly going to say. I genuinely didn't. My next game I want to do, I don't know. I'm not going to say exactly what I want to do. I've not worked it out yet. But when I say not linear, I still want to make predominantly kind of single-player not skill-based, but kind of progression-based games. The only thing is, I think that I don't ever want to spend months making an absolutely prescribed linear experience ever again. I think there are better, cleverer ways of producing that. I think Minecraft, for a lot of people, myself included, is a single-player game, for example. I play Minecraft alone. I have amazing adventures as the solitary man building a castle across a lake, and to me that's a single-player linear experience. But obviously, it's not because there's so much stuff keying into it. So I think you're not going to get me to say the genre, but the idea would be to do something similar, but not a Minecraft clone. Definitely not a Minecraft clone, mainly because Notch is a slightly better programmer than me, and I worry that I wouldn't be able to. I think I'd make one cube, and I'd make that cube jump, and I'd get obsessed about making that cube jump right, and it wouldn't work so well. Anyone else, or are we running? Is that cool? Can we keep rolling? Awesome. This is, by the way, the problem that every person speaking wants. I've been so many rooms where no one has any questions, and it's horrible. Please carry on, sir.
Are you planning on using Unity again for future games, or are you going to try and branch out and learn some other languages?
I like there was a slight judgmental, I don't know if it was intentional, but it's like, that was like, Mike, when are you going to get a real job? You know, get out of my house. No,
it's just the way he is.
No, I love Unity. As far as I can tell, everything I could possibly want to do works in Unity. The new version of Unity is gorgeous. I convinced myself I needed to get Unity Pro so I could get this on Steam, which I think I did, but I didn't really check into the details because I wanted it. And it's just some of the stuff in Unity Pro is lovely. So I'm kind of geeking out and obsessing about that. To be honest, the learning a new engine doesn't appeal to me. The engine is something I use to make the game, and I don't think I would gain pleasure from learning a new engine as much as I would from spending those months making something. Unity, I learned Unity making Thomas, which means that Thomas took a lot longer than it would do if I started now. And I kind of want to see what I can get done now that I know Unity without, I don't want to move on to something else. And Unity's lovely. Like, I think I've mentioned that. It's quite good for stuff, so yeah. You come round for the mic? Yes. I love that.
I don't have any questions, though.
You don't, but you've played my game, and I'm very flattered that you did.
Yes, until the cake part.
The what part?
Where Thomas figured out something about a cake, but he isn't entirely sure what it means.
You're completely ruining the game.
I actually am not saying anything at all. It's just something about
I know which bit you mean, yeah.
Yeah.
You should keep playing. It gets really good after that.
Oh, jeez.
I know it drags a little bit leading up to that point, but like, it gets good, man. It's good. That was your question, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was a statement, but not a question.
Do you
Anyone else?
have any or statements, especially complimentary ones? Those are good. Don't encourage statements too. Questions only, please.
Have you got a name for your studio? Because you missed a golden opportunity calling it Bithell.
Okay, this is an interesting story because this came up actually in the pub last night. I didn't realize my name was the ultimate nerd name until there was a joystick article. Say again, sorry, sir?
Mike.
Yeah, Mike's great as well. There was a joystick article about a year and a half ago about the original Flash game of Thomas, and there was a comment thread about how I'd clearly made up my surname, and I was reading this thread, it's like, that's not his real name, that's not his real name. Well, yes, it is. And because to me, it's TH, it's a F noise. It never occurred to me that my name is Bithell, which is like the perfect tag. The only problem is I can never, ever, 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 ever create a studio called that, because who wants... Okay, so I said this last night. I said I wouldn't want... what company with the surname of the founder would ever work? Someone pointed out we were in Disney. So it's a flawed argument, but I would never call my company my name if I had. To be honest, like I'm not like I work by day for other people, so my focus has never been kind of starting my own company. I'm me. I'd rather if I ever do work full time on indie stuff, it will be me making games with other people helping me and coming in and getting credited that way. I don't think I'm ever going to want. Well, I say that I probably will change my mind, but I'm not really a company guy or starting a company guy. Being a CEO holds no interest for me. I want to be the dude making stuff. which, by the way, that statement just really ruined any attempt I ever make to get business funding. So they don't, I probably won't watch. They're not here. Hello.
Hello.
You're the one who whooped Danny Wallace.
I did. Okay, this is a really plain and unsophisticated question.
Cool.
What is your favourite indie game to play? Purely as a game
Well, there's
fan.
very clear, there's one answer, isn't there?
Don't say your own game.
No, there's one very much more obvious answer. Minecraft, the greatest game ever. Woo! That was fun.
Very diplomatic.
I've never worked out Redstone, though. If only there was some opportunity for me to learn about how to use Redstone more efficiently. Oh, there's a thing over... Oh, right. Oh, cool. What do I play for fun? To be honest, like, I've really fallen off playing games for the last year and a half because I was working on this. The last indie game that I got really, really psyched about, and I'm not sure if it fits into everyone's definition of indie. I'm getting a bit bored by that conversation at this point. But Mark of the Ninja, I just loved. Like, that game was... Yeah, their game gets a round of applause. Yeah, okay. But no, that game is perfect. Like, that game is the perfect realization of a design objective, and I love it, and I'm a big Metal Gear Solid fanboy. Like, the worst thing that ever happened, as far as I'm concerned, is analog stealth. Stealth should be they see you and they've got an exclamation mark, or they don't see you. That's stealth. None of this mature, intelligent, evolving combat. They've got an exclamation mark or they haven't, and that's what I love that Mark of the Ninja had that vibe to it. But that game was just brilliant, and I love the art style as well. Everything about it. That was the last game that the last indie game that I found myself like getting excited about, I think I was like a lot of people, I just didn't know about it before release. It was one that my Twitter just was overwhelmed with journalists who'd been reviewing it, and for like 2 days just saying this is the best thing ever. So I like that game a lot. Yeah, so that's my answer. Any more questions? Oh, is the room getting tired? Oh, you're going now.
Daniel.
Aww. You Mojang guys are lovely to each other.
So, I'm a Minecraft developer, and you said you watch YouTube videos. Minecraft developer,
okay,
yeah.
Cool.
And you said you watch YouTube videos, right?
Massively.
And I do the same thing, and it's interesting to see all the different perspectives of people and the way they look at your game. Have you looked at Twitch and people live streaming? It's like a completely different experience.
I've never, like, I know people do live stream Thomas on Twitch, but I never catch them. I imagine more people live stream Minecraft than Thomas, so whenever I see someone, it's already passed, and that's frustrating. I'd love to see someone live. I'd love to see someone live and be messaging them at the same time as they're playing and going, hey, I made this. Don't jump over there. Stop jumping over there. That doesn't work. That looks like a platform, but it's not a platform. Stop it. So I'd love to. I know that it's part of like an indie live stream thing coming up, so I need to find out which slot it's in and check it out. But yeah, it's great watching people play your stuff. Like, that's like on an ego level, on a self-improvement level, watching not millions, not yet, 10 people making the same mistake over and over. It's nice. It's a cool feeling. And then you learn a lot from it. So, and like I said, the ones that I love are when the personality comes in. There's a chap who called Dog Bomb who does a thing called I don't know what it's called, but he reviews games drunk. And not drunk in like a European sense, drunk in like a northern British sense. And it's the funniest thing. And him playing Thomas it was like watching a drunk guy playing with like their children's building blocks. It's just this thing jumping, and he's like, why is it not going on the platform? Because you're not pressing the right button. It's just really funny. And weirdly, he loved it. Like, it got to, like, that might be my prime audience, I don't know. Although I have just insulted all Northerners, so that's going to have an effect. But yeah, no, I love it. And it's just nice to watch. It's nice to see a little community forming. I'm not quite at the Thomas Con level just yet, but like, I could probably arrange a small, I could get a table in a pub, 5 people. That could probably, if there's nothing else going on. So it's nice. It's nice to see people playing stuff.
Well, I noticed you followed me on Twitter, so I know quite a few streamers, and if they stream your game, I'll let you know.
Please do, and maybe suggest it to them, if you want to.
And going back to Clay's games, did you see that they made a new game called Don't Starve?
I've not played it yet.
Yeah, it's kind of like Minecraft, and it's interesting. They got the clay art style, and it's pretty interesting.
Okay, I need to check that out. I love this. I love Shank as well. I was like less so than Mark of the Ninja, because Mark of the Ninja is so I love stealth games. So, but yeah, cool.
Anything else?
Oh, we've exhausted the room. Awesome. Okay. Well, not awesome. I'm obviously going to miss you all. Oh, hello.
What do you think about Dishonored?
Okay. I know Harvey Smith follows me on Twitter. No, I do like Dishonored. I do like Dishonored. Weirdly, like I stopped playing Dishonored mainly because Assassin's Creed came out, and I'm a massive, like that's my one big AAA license game. Like I fucking love. Oh, sorry. I'm really fond of Assassin's Creed. And not just because Danny's in it, but I like it. It's an amazing. I think it's lovely, and it's very cool for a designer as well because you see the iterations. Anyway, I'm not answering your question. I'm very cleverly siding onto something else.
Yes, I don't like you.
Dishonored. I like Dishonored. I like Dishonored a lot actually. I like it a lot more than Deus Ex 3. I think it's a really good kind of. I was kind of taking the mick when I said I don't like analog style. I of course love analog style. The only issue I have with Dishonored is that it feels like the game doesn't want me to play stealthily. Because there's just so much more. I like the stuff where I mess up is so much more fun than the actual stealth, and that's my only criticism. Is in Deus Ex, like it was an issue in Deus Ex, but there was so much going on. It was so new that you didn't mind. And in Thief, you felt constantly cool being stealthy, whereas in Dishonored, I feel like bop him on the head, bop him on the head, bop him on the head. Whereas if I was playing a more aggressive style, I could get a rat. But in fairness, that's the problem there is I'm assuming that game is intended to be a stealth game, which is an assumption on my part. So that would be the only criticism I'd have, but I'm aware that it's a very subjective and personal criticism.
Okay, thank you.
Cool. And yeah, I think we're there, aren't we? Or it's rolling and rolling. I think we're there. I'm going to leave with my dignity intact. Thank you so much, guys, and cheers. Thank you. Minecon 2012 coupon on direct sales at thomaswasalone.com.